Compromise on size?
No. Why would I compromise on that? Oh, wait, sorry.
Because you're a woman.
What's the rest? Sorry,
Or location. The reason why it's never August is sweaty balls.
Let's stretch.
Yeah, given your answer for size, that makes a lot of sense.
Hey, welcome to this month's episode of Closing Time with Jimmy B and Annie O, where we're actually discussing a smoother, easier way of closing a home when you're a buyer, seller, of course, an agent, and of course, Jimmy's sweaty balls.
My sweaty balls.
All right, so welcome back to the Closing Time with Jimmy B and Annie O. And right now, I want to know what your favorite month of the year is and why it's not August.
And why it's not August?
Yeah.
Well, how do you know it's not August?
I know you.
Yeah, it's not August.
Yeah.
It's definitely not August, and the reason why it's never August is sweaty balls.
I mean, it's only Florida in August.
And school is back.
I know. Traffic. It's not even like, oh, we're letting the little kids go back to school or anything. No, it's traffic.
So sweaty balls and traffic is why it's never August. So to answer the actual question, what is my favorite month of the year? I am going to say probably it's kind of a toss-up between November and December, but I'm going to go with December.
Okay.
And mainly because it's the holidays, man. Like, you get a little extra time off. The weather's not, as scorching, hell-raising hot as August and July and September and June and May and April and March. So, yeah, I would say December is probably my favorite month.
Okay. You do realize we're realtors, so, we really don't have time off like that.
We get a couple extra days in December.
Okay, yeah. At least people are like, oh, it's Christmas. Okay, I won't bother you.
So what's your favorite month then, smartass?
March.
Why? Because it's your birthday.
Damn straight. It's an amazing month because I exist in the world. You're welcome.
Yeah, and this past March, Annie turned 75.
Oh, I look damn good if I did. Shit. All right. So our next segment, as we get a little more serious, kind of, sort of, but we are going to do another series of the rapid fire questions. So as you can see, we will play rock, paper, scissors to see who gets to decide who's answering and who is going to be given the answers. You only have 60 seconds on whatever total to answer the questions. So we're good? Ready to rock and roll?
Okay, ready? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. All right, you won. So
on the first try.
So who's asking?
All right, you ask first.
I ask first.
Yep.
Okay. All right, rapid fire. You ready, Annie?
Yep.
All right, lock the rate or float it?
Lock.
Buy points or keep cash?
Points.
New community or established neighborhood?
Established neighborhood.
Okay. Larger lot or newer home?
Larger lot.
Close fast or negotiate longer?
Ooh. Close fast.
Compromise on size?
No. Why would I compromise on that? Oh, wait, sorry.
Because you're a woman.
What's the rest? Sorry,
or location.
Okay, in the context of the question, I get location.
Go all in or leave room to negotiate?
Room to negotiate.
Prioritize schools or amenities?
Amenities.
Okay. Buy at asking or below?
Below.
Stretch the budget or play it safe?
Ooh. Let's stretch.
Yeah, given your answer for size, that makes a lot of sense. All right, so that was cool. Rapid fire. Quick question on that.
All right. What'd you get?
On the close fast, negotiate longer, you pick close fast. Why?
Yeah, I feel like you can get better deals that way.
Okay. So this get the seller their money faster.
Right. Like, yeah.
Okay. Why did you pick prioritize schools or amenities? Why did you pick amenities?
From a personal perspective, all my kids are grown, so schools don't mean anything to me.
What if they did matter?
I still rather enjoy where I'm living
Okay.
versus the schools.
And schools always change.
Right.
Right.
Well, not only that, we also have school choice here, which means I can always choose where my kid goes to school.
Right.
So, like, that's easy.
And the last one, I want to ask why you did new community or established neighborhood. You picked established neighborhood. Why?
Yeah. I just like the idea of everything already being settled versus you having to wait longer for it. Like, there's something about, I mean, when you first met me and where I lived and just how the trees, the oak trees, and like you had them where they were already overgrown over the streets and like that to me is heaven. Like that kind of community versus, the little twigs that have like all the poles trying to still hold them up for the storms and everything. And I'm like, you'll get there one day, buddy.
That's kind of what we have in Bexley.
I know. Like, right? I mean, the trees are finally at like 20 feet tall. Yay. Yeah, there we go. So, all right, you ready for yours?
Let's go. Rapid.
All right. Price aggressively or test the market?
We're talking about sellers then. We're going to price aggressively.
Okay. Remodel before listing or sell as is?
Remodel before listing.
Replace the roof or offer a credit?
Ooh, replace the roof.
Neutral tones or bold designs?
Neutral tones.
Carpet or hard flooring?
Hard flooring.
Pool or no pool? Appeal.
No pool.
Ooh. Okay. Pre-inspection or wait?
Pre-inspection, if willing.
Okay. Accept first offer or hold out?
First offer is always the best offer.
Okay. Offer concessions or stay firm?
It depends on the market, but if I have to pick one, I'm going to say offer concessions.
Okay. List vacant or occupied?
Vacant.
The face you made on that one. All right. Tell me about it. That last question. The vacant
Was that
or
the
occupied?
last question?
Yeah, that was the last one.
Listing occupied can be a giant pain in the rear because a lot of times the homeowner, obviously they would still live there. So just coordinating showings, if they have kids, if they have pets, it can be a really just pain in the butt. The counter argument to that would be like, oh, well, if they're living there, then it looks like somebody's living there. They're taking care of it, that it's staged. I don't care about any of that because now with technology, everybody's virtually staging everything anyway. Yeah. So, like, who cares?
Right.
So it just makes life easier for everyone involved. And then the homeowner doesn't have to worry about, stupid little things. Like homeowners will get worried, like, oh, I don't want to leave my stuff out because someone's going to take it.
Yeah.
But then everybody has cameras, so.
I just say from like the peace of mind perspective of like trying to keep your house pristine while you're living in it. That part. So, okay. The pool or no pool? You went for no pool.
Yeah.
It's Florida.
Yeah, I know. But at the end of the day, it depends on the house, right? That's a tough question, right? If I'm buying a house we're talking about sellers, right?
Yeah.
So I prefer to have a pool or no pool. In this market, I don't want them to have a pool. And the reason for that is a lot of them paid $150,000, $200,000 to put these pools in, and pool values and pool homes have completely taken a dump and tanked in the Land O'Lakes area in the last year and a half.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Really, since the last storm.
So, like, the problem is like, and I'll be honest, I'm a very transparent person. I learn from my mistakes, but I had several, not even one, not two, but several pool homes I listed for sale in the last 2 years. And I've talked about this on another episode prior where I priced them too high because I priced them at where I thought the pool would add the value of like an extra $75,000 to $100,000, and then it doesn't. Like people don't want to keep up with the maintenance. They don't want to pay the higher electric bill. They're already paying higher taxes and CDDs because the community has a massive pool or amenities. So like, there's a million reasons why it's just a pain. And then on top of that, the seller has to upkeep the pool while you're selling the house.
Yeah.
Like, I rather them not have the pool and not deal with it.
Okay.
We're talking about a seller,
like-
so.
I don't know. There's still that group of buyers, though, that the Florida lifestyle and having a pool.
Well, then my listing's not for them. I'm not saying I don't want to sell your pool home.
Right.
I'm just saying
No.
if I had to choose.
It's fine. Let him say that because I will gladly sell your pool home, okay? All right, so the main part of our podcast today is actually a little different because we're going to talk about not like acquiring our clients, not marketing or helping them buy, but like what's it like when it comes time for the closing process,
Ooh,
right? Like nobody talks about this,
that's true.
right? So like you have a client who's selling and they're buying at the same time, you know, trying to navigate that, you know, double closing period, the timing, not being homeless. Like, are they supposed to be going out and like sleeping in a motel for a few days? Like, really, what does that look like? So just to get us started and everything, first off, I definitely want to emphasize the point that communication is always key when it comes to this. So like whoever the other party is on this transaction, just letting them know what's happening. So if I have a client who's selling the house and then buying another one, trying to sell the house, have a walkthrough happen at their house at the same time they're like having movers coming in and like moving everything, like that's going to be very disruptive for everybody. So letting the buyer know that this is happening and be like, hey, by the way, my clients are moving out the day of the closing, but just they're going to need some grace as far as like having the movers coming and stuff. Like do your walkthrough, that's fine, but just be prepared for this. And then, you know, if we have to do any kind of like even a small escrow holdback of like $1,000 just to make sure that nothing gets damaged in the property.
What's an escrow holdback?
Ooh, appreciate that. So basically the title company will hold some of the money that they were supposed to give to the sellers at the closing. They'll literally leave it in an account at the title company. So that way, if there's any kind of damages or incidentals that happen to the house and the buyer comes out, now that everything is cleared out and they see like scuffs or like a giant hole in the wall kind of thing, they'll be like, hey, we need this fixed. And if the seller's like, well, we're not fixing it too bad, that money is now going to be given to the buyers to help remediate that issue. So that's kind of what an escrow holdback is. So you can, you know, help navigate that in terms of just creating that little comfort for a buyer who's buying a house where like they're on the tail end of a seller buying and selling a house and they're trying to move out the same day of a closing. So there's that part of it.
What do you, what would you say would be how you navigate just the timing in general of the day of closing for a sell-buy situation? Simultaneous close, if you will.
Right. So the house they're selling, we have the sellers sign their paperwork as early as possible.
Yep.
So like 8 a.m., like it's done. Definitely before 10 a.m.
And why is that?
Because that paperwork and the release of the funds from that sale need to go to the next title company who's handling their purchase. So there needs to be a buffer of time, and usually it's about an hour, 2 hours from title company to do all these transfers.
The wires.
Right. Also, keep in mind when it comes to all this, before day of closing, you need to make sure that all the title companies know what's happening so that they're communicating with each other and they already know ahead of time. So that's like a little tidbit of information, but it's definitely plays into this like communication and kind of getting everybody on board well in advance of the closing day. So that way everything is like clockwork on the day of closing. Because of course, day of closing, you never know what could happen or, you know, a notary's late or something like that. And then all of a sudden you're derailed.
And what do you advise the homeowner who's selling the home in terms of, you know, as far as timing of when they need to have their moving truck packed up and ready to go? Where are they going to keep it if they're not hiring professional movers? Should they hire professional movers and why? And how would you navigate the timing of all that?
So if they have the available funds to do something like that, because obviously there's an extra cost, professional movers can get a home like totally done and unpacked in like 3 hours, 3 or 4 hours max, which is phenomenal. So you can have your scheduled movers at your house by 7 a.m. because that's usually the start time that they'll do. And by 10 a.m., your house is cleared out. So that would be perfect. And then you could have it where they're out, the buyers are doing their final walkthrough around 11 a.m. The buyers are then going to the title company and signing off on their closing paperwork by 1 p.m. on the close date. Meanwhile, the sellers, which is a really cool thing that sellers can do, is you can actually pre-sign your closing documents. So as a seller, because you're not the one that's bringing money to the table, you can sign the day before or even 2 days ahead of time because all the paperwork's already going to be ready for you. You're signing it, saying, yes, this is our close date, basically preemptively getting it done so that the day of closing, all you're focused on is the moving. Now, if you don't have, the availability of resources to hire a moving truck or to hire movers to get that done for you, I would suggest utilizing the day before and the day of closing kind of thing, giving yourself 24 hours to be able to pack the truck like the night before, except for like your mattress, like the bare bones minimum. I strongly suggest having like a suitcase of like basically your next day, your next few days of clothes, like your toiletries, your food, have your food still in your fridge of just that. But then everything else needs to be ready to go, packed up in your moving truck. And then the morning of, you're just literally finalizing those last minute things that need to be put in the truck. So that way you can be done and out of your house by like noon.
What do you tell the homeowner who, they're closing early on, let's say, a Monday, right? And then the buyer who's buying their home plans to do the final walkthrough, let's say they want to do it Sunday evening. Would you push it off till Monday? And then the seller's worried about that they're sleeping on an air mattress. How do you navigate that?
It's definitely a communication thing. We've have it where, obviously there's the availability of both like parties in this. And say the buyers are working Monday morning, so they can't do it before closing. And they're like, hey, I have to do it this beforehand on Sunday. I always tell them, like, hey, the sellers are still going to be in the property. Like, it's going to be in that kind of condition. Your basic job for that final walkthrough is just making sure that, one, the house is still majority, like, everything is still in look. If you see boxes everywhere, like, you can't be surprised. But as long as you communicate that and prepare them for that, most of the time they're not going to freak out that, oh, there's the stuff here. I've only seen that happen when an agent didn't tell the buyers like that the closing and that was the day the clients were moving out, and then you have them like blowing up, freaking out, like, why isn't this place empty, because they're expecting to move in that night.
Yep.
So like as long as you're telling them ahead of time, hey, this is what's happening, so like be gracious, most of them like, okay, cool, we're fine, no problem. Or what'll happen is that they'll just schedule it for like literally the morning of, and they'll be like walking up to the house as like the movers are literally like hauling, like pulling the last out, and they're like, oh, okay, it's done.
What are some of the things that a seller needs to do in order to prepare for closing other than packing?
Your big things is your change of address with the post office, and then your utilities. So making sure that all your utilities, just FYI sellers, the day of closing is still your responsibility. So even if you move out the day earlier, the utilities still need to be on the day of closing if the buyers are doing their walkthrough that day. Like, do not turn them off early because that would be at fault. You'd be at fault, and then there could be other issues. Don't ask me how I know. Just saying. So we have that. But the day of closing, like, just basically have all your utilities through that day. And if it's a Friday, we definitely say, like, make sure it's done because, it is my job as the agent to be responsible of informing the buyers that, like, they have to have their utilities literally turned on that same day, too. So that way they don't have any issues over the weekend. But, yeah, it's utilities, change of address. And we're also talking about, like, Wi-Fi. As far as your new home, you want to make sure that same thing. You're turning on all of your different companies, your internet provider, getting your new router. Yes, you can obviously change your router from your current address to your new one, but the way they're changing technology these days and everything, I would definitely almost like look at what the new routers look like because you may be getting a better one and upgrade at the same time. But that's kind of the stuff you're doing. And then if you're working with us, you don't have to worry about like remembering all this because prior to you doing all this, we actually send you a checklist and remind you like, hey, don't forget your utilities, things like that. So we're definitely there helping you through this part because obviously between packing, living, working, and doing your regular stuff, like we don't expect you to remember all this stuff on top of it.
And then last question on this main topic, when a buyer or seller actually has to go to the title company or law firm or wherever they're going, or let's say they have a mobile notary, that's possible as well, for closing, what should they expect at closing? Like, what does that process look like?
The biggest thing is have a form of ID on you, like legally binding, so passport or driver's license. Again, this is one of those things I had to learn the hard way where someone didn't have ID day of closing. That was great. Anyway, but you need a legal form of identification because they are going to verify that you are the person you say you are for signing all these documents. Be prepared, as if you're a seller, you actually don't have that much paperwork compared to when you were buying the home. So your process is definitely less than an hour. And that's even with you reviewing everything, because they're going to verify your bank wiring instructions to make sure that that's where you want your funds to be taken to. They're going to make sure that like all the numbers that they had, like your mortgage payoff, things like that. So you're going to be signing all that paperwork. But other than that, as a seller, it's a lot easier.
30 minutes. Tops.
Yeah, like so I said, like if you're going to read every single thing, maybe an hour. But
now what if you're on the buyer side?
Plan for at least an hour and a half.
Yep, and it could be sooner than that.
Yeah.
It really depends on the type of loan that
Yes.
you are getting. Most traditional, conventional loans, depending on how many questions you have as the closer is going through it with you, you know, that process could take as little as 30 to 40 minutes. It depends really on, again, how many questions you have and how good the closer is and how experienced they are. Believe it or not, most title reps who are closers or lawyers who have been doing this, they do it for a very long time. It's actually a profession that I've noticed over the years that does not have a lot of high turnover.
Yeah, that's right.
So most of the closers, as we call them, the ones that go through the paperwork with you, unless it's a mobile notary who's kind of fresh in the game, they've been doing this forever. They've done thousands and thousands of closings, and a lot of them, like, you know, they have their little finger thing on, and they lick their thing, and they just next paper, next paper, next paper, and it really just depends on how many questions you have. Now, if you're going with a government-insured loan, FHA, VA, or USDA, your stack of papers is going to be about double.
Yep.
VA actually has probably the biggest packets. And I tell most of my buyers who are closing on a VA loan to budget, you know, up to about 2 hours for closing.
Yeah.
And then really just exercise your wrist the morning of, get it ready to go.
Do you like those squeezy balls and stuff?
Yeah, because, you know, and then you're going to be, you know, signing a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Now it's time for Coach's Corner, where you learn not to be a little real estate bitch.
I actually want to segue that into our Coach's Corner for this month's episode. And what do you, when you're talking to a new agent who's never been to a closing before, how do you tell them to navigate that experience and what that experience is like?
Okay. I definitely tell, like, they should actually shadow another agent at a closing just to see what that experience is like the actual paperwork, the documents, the signing. Unfortunately, that's like the easiest part of it. Because what really is the more complicated part is setting up the everything else in terms of the movement.
Yeah.
If you have a mobile notary, the title company.
We'll get there. I just wanted to ask, like, what's your advice when they're actually sitting at the closing table? I'm going a little backwards here.
Okay, no problem. So with that, like, you're just there to observe.
Yeah.
There's actually not a lot you're doing. There's one form that you're going to have to witness, but other than that, like, the rest, you're just sitting there watching.
Yeah, I would say be that intermediary if you need to be. If the title rep is explaining, you know, a certain document and maybe your buyer is not understanding that document.
That's true.
Most of the stuff is pretty standard if you've been doing this for a little bit, and you should know what it is. Now, if you're a brand new agent and you haven't been to a lot of closings before, let the title rep do their thing. It is going to be pretty boring, to be completely honest with you. But I would highly encourage you to get some training, you know, on how to read a closing statement at least and how the numbers come out. Because that's going to be the most important thing, mainly to the buyer and or the seller, is the numbers. Right. The rest of the stuff, they're like, whatever, I'll sign my life away. They have no idea what they're signing.
They already know. They're like,
yeah. Okay, so that's what to expect when you do it. Now, what do you tell our agents who are listening and watching out there on how to successfully set up and navigate this closing process? I know this goes a little bit hand in hand of what we just talked about in the main topic, but what would you specifically tell the agents as far as what they need to do to make sure that the process is as smooth as possible?
Tons of communication, like over communicate, not just with your clients, but the title companies, like the vendors that you're going to be meeting with. If you're not experienced with being at closings and everything, tell your title company that and be like, hey, this is my second closing. Like, can we make sure that whoever is doing the documents really knows it? So that way you can lean on them and rely on the person who's more experienced in the room to be able to explain it better than you. Like, that would be a first huge thing. Also, again, the shadowing, just to just get that experience, but really just making sure, not the day of closing, but like the week prior. Does the title company have everything they need? Have they scheduled, the clients to come into the office? Is there a mobile notary going out to them? Like, how is the actual closing going to happen? Like, you can ask that and not be afraid of it.
I would say, too, another big part of this, too, is as an agent, I would highly encourage you to reach out if the transaction is financing. To reach out, whether you're on the buyer side or the seller side, to reach out to the lender who's handling the transaction and find out where they at in the process, right?
Yeah.
Because of laws that were passed in the last 6 to 8 years, the lender is required to give a closing disclosure up to 3 days before closing.
Yeah.
And if they don't do that in a timely manner, then the closing has to be extended.
Yep.
Right? So that can throw a big monkey wrench in a buyer and seller's plans. We talked about it earlier. If, your seller's got that moving truck ready to go to their new house, ready to buy, the buyer's got theirs, if it's just a buyer, the moving truck ready to go, and they set up all this stuff with the moving company and the movers or themselves, they rent the U-Haul or whatever the case may be, and then all of a sudden, you didn't communicate well with the lender, and now you find out the closing has to be delayed a day or two. I am telling you guys, that is going to stress the hell out of your buyer and seller, and it is going to make for a very, very bad experience.
Yeah.
And I would not be asking for a review shortly thereafter.
Right, that'd be terrible.
Yeah.
Also, keep in mind, I think, just for your own sanity, keep closing dates like Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays.
Yes.
Because
or Monday. You don't like Mondays?
No, because you're usually, there's complications and people are catching up from Fridays. But the main reason being is because you want to be able to, if your clients or like the buyers, if they're not signing their paperwork till 6 or 7 o'clock at night from after work, they haven't officially closed because the title company can't transfer those funds. And if those funds are not transferred, the buyer does not own that property yet. So you can't give them keys, they can't move in, and the last thing you want to do is have that kind of event happen on a Friday night because title companies are closed until Monday.
Yeah, I would also say, too, I know a lot of people do it, but try to avoid setting your closing date on the last Friday of the month.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah.
Title companies, law firms, they get overwhelmed at that time of the month, and just like Annie said, if something goes wrong, then you're bleeding it into the next month, and it can cause a lot of issues for all parties involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely midweek and not the last day of the month.
Yep. So that way, if you do have to, bleed it into the next day, we'll use that term.
Yep.
It's not a big of a deal. Not as
Right.
big of a deal.
Yep.
All right. Any final comments or thoughts for our realtor audience for Coach's Corner?
Reminder that you can't give the buyers the keys or access to the house until officially the money has transferred.
Once you hear the words from the title rep or the law firm, the loan has funded,
Yep.
or everything is funded, that's when you can actually give the keys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big no-no. You definitely do not want to give your buyers the keys prior, because if that loan doesn't fund right away and the buyer starts moving in and God forbid something happens and they break something, somebody gets hurt, the seller still owns the house, and that could be lawsuit city and create a giant mess. So to protect yourselves and all parties involved and your license, listen to Annie O on that one. All right, cool. All right, well, that does it for episode 12. 12. We've done 12 episodes.
Right?
And August, Shorty Balls episode of Closing Time with Jimmy B and Annie O. We will see you guys on the next one.
See ya.